up your ears.
The sound of DTM.
My car sounds like music to my ears.
My favorite sound when the car is leaving the pits.
My favorite sound, the cheering of the fans.
Crank it up. My favorite sound? The silence before the lights go green.
Full blast.
Downshifting from full speed. When I rev up my engine to its absolute limit. Too close to cool. Cheering on the podium.
Be aware.
It's gonna be loud.
Hello everyone and welcome from Zandvoort. We're here in the Netherlands and it's halftime in the DTM season 2016. So are you ready to feel the roar? This certainly is a very beautiful circuit but also very challenging as it's embedded into the dunes and the sand from a crossover where the beach is actually flies over to the circuit. So it's challenging but a lot of drivers actually love this circuit. And I'm here with Edo Mortara and I'm not so sure looking back at yesterday if you love this racetrack so much because it was very unfortunate for you. You're doing extremely well, but then unfortunately you got a drive-through penalty for apparently driving too fast in the slow zone, but as it shows, not the case, and so I guess it was just very unlucky for you because that cost you very valuable points. However, it looks like you turned the negative energy into a positive one because today you're starting from P4, so where are you going to go from there?
Well, firstly, let me say that it has nothing to do with the racetrack. The racetrack, I love it. It's simply beautiful, beautiful racetrack with a lot of fast corners. The surroundings are beautiful. A lot of people. We are near the sea, so this has nothing to do with the decision that was taken yesterday. I mean, with the slow zone, I mean, apparently I was driving too fast, which was not the case. And race direction actually. Yeah, they said that actually they made a mistake or there was a problem with the system. So
Tough luck.
Tough luck, yeah, but that was yesterday, and I mean there's nothing we can do about it anymore. We just have to stay positive, keep fighting. We're starting from P4, which is not too bad, and with a good start, we are close to the podium.
Exactly, and anything is possible in the DTM, as I always say. So best of luck for the race. But before we get started here, let's have a look back at the summary of yesterday's race.
Thank you, Verena. So it was Robert Wickens then who moved over and made sure that he was going to block that inside line going into turn one while all heck was breaking out behind. As Maximilian Goertz, Martin Tomczyk and Adrian Tombe all involved in a situation here, provoked by Martin Tomczyk, who received a drive-through penalty for it. No joy, though, for Maximilian Goertz and Adrian Tombe, who both ended up out of the race. And Adrian Tombe, in fact, out of the race today by virtue of the fact that he's hurt his arm, and that's why we see René Rast in the car in his absence. So, safety car was deployed fairly early on, and from there on in, Robert Wickens on an absolute charge. This was Martin Tomczyk taking that drive-through penalty for causing an avoidable collision. Both Maximilian Goertz and also Adrian Tombe saying that they were slow off. Nonetheless, Augusto Farfus, another one that came to grief and ended up riding back to the paddock on the back of a scooter, his car through the gravel and ending up against the barriers. Timo Scheider then with a move on Timo Glock, which was closely followed by Mike Rockenfeller doing exactly the same. And you can see there with a slight lockup just how the sand can affect the circuit here. As it got towards this part of the race, Marco Wittmann was coming under increasing pressure from Christian Vittoris, and Matthias Ekström was also piling the pressure on the BMW ahead of him here, the car of Antonio Felix da Costa. Gary Paffett made easy work of getting past Christian Vittoris, which was a determined effort for Gary to try and get a bit closer because he had DRS still available to him. However, he wasn't able to get closer, so the place was given back very fairly to Christian Vitouris. But it was a great win for Robert Wickens, a dominant win for Robert Wickens. You can see how far he finished ahead of Marco Wittmann. So great result for the Canadian. And there the result in full. Wickens, Wittmann, Christian Vitouris, though, the top three. And the delight on the Canadian. See, wobbled his bottom down there. And let's hear from the race one winner.
So obviously the 5 guys here are having a little chat, but I'm going to try to interrupt Robert Wickens. Hello guys, sorry to interrupt, but we have a question to ask you, obviously. So Robert, yesterday's winner, fantastic job. Today you're starting in P5, and directly behind you is Wittmann. And since you're obviously fighting for the championship and the leadership, are you going to be, when you have the start, are you going to be looking in your rear mirror and look at Wittmann, or are you just going to look ahead?
No, I mean, the target is to keep him behind me. So, I mean, as a driver, you always have to check your mirrors to make sure you're not, you know, cutting someone off and causing an incident. So, yeah, he's good at starts. I know that. I know that already from yesterday, but I know I'm strong as well. So I'm definitely going to be trying to attack and not defend him.
And since I'm curious, what were you guys talking about?
We were actually talking about online dating apps on your phone.
But I heard you're not single anymore.
I'm in a very good relationship, so.
Okay, very diplomatic. All right, in that case, best of luck for the race. Careful, don't get run over. And back to you.
Oh, Verena. Online dating apps then, the guys were talking about as we take a look at the grid. It's an all-British row one. Jamie Green and Gary Paffett then, P1 and P2. Then we find Christian Vitouris and Eduardo Mortara. Edo desperate to get some points on the board from his disappointments yesterday. Robert Wickens then, yesterday's race winner, goes from P5 with Timo Glock alongside him for BMW. Then we find Marco Wittmann and a very good qualifying once again from Esteban Ocon. He will go from P8. To row 5 of the grid, we find Matthias Ekstrom and Nico Muller, 2 Audis side by side there. It's Tom Blomqvist and Miguel Molina who are on the 6th row of the grid. Paul de Resta and Bruno Spengler go P13 and P14 for the longer race today, which includes the mandatory pit stop. And Antonio Felix da Costa and Martin Tomczyk are on the 8th row of the grid. We go to P17, where we find Augusto Farfusel, who'll be hoping not for a scooter ride today, and Mike Rockefeller alongside him. Then it's Lucas Auer and Timo Scheider on the 10th row of the grid. We get to the back now, and we find Maxime Martin, P21, and René Rast in for the injured Adrien Tombe. And the final row belongs to Maximilian Goertz and Daniel Juncker-Deyer. So we go back to Verena, who's trying... Jamie Green.
So here I am with Jamie Green, the pole setter. So Jamie, fantastic job in the race yesterday. Obviously you're ready to attack in the race, but also in regards to the leadership of the championship.
Yeah, we just focus on the race, see what we can do. I'm starting in the best place, so hopefully I can stay there.
Right, well, best of luck. Off you go into the car and back to you.
Well done, Verena. Getting hold of Jamie Green just as the crash helmet is on, ready for him to get into the car. Going from P6 then is Timo Glock, who is the very best of the BMWs. And Leo Gorman from the motorsportarchive.com is alongside me. And Lee, there must be a feeling of disappointment for BMW given how dominant they were here at this very circuit last season.
To have your best driver only in 6th place and Wittmann in 7th. I think there really is a little bit of disappointment. But BMW have got a little bit of a weight break after qualifying this morning. Audi and Mercedes have had an additional 5 kilos added on to their total weight, where BMW have had 5 kilos taken away.
And of course, BMW are already the lighter car, aren't they? Because Absolutely. They were given dispensation right at the beginning of the season. Yesterday's winner, Robert Wickens, it was a very, very accomplished drive from Robert Wickens, and bearing in mind that he starts today from P5, he can do damage for there. Real disappointment, of course, for Eduardo Mortara, and I thought he was very, very diplomatic in his interview with Verena earlier on, because basically he got penalised for potentially speeding in a slow zone, and it was found that actually perhaps the data that was coming back was not correct, so a drive-through, well, perhaps for nothing. Zandvoort on sea. and the DTM. And the starting grid for race 10, as you can see, Green and Paffett. Front row, then it's Vitoris Mortara. Wickens, Glock, Wittmann, Ocon, Ekstrom, Muller, Blomqvist and Molina. In the first 6 rows, followed by De Resta, Spengler, Felix da Costa, Tomczyk, Farfus, Rockefeller, Lucasau. Then it's Timo Scheider, Maxime Martin, Rennie Rast, who is in for the ailing Adrian Tombe, who damaged his arm in the collision right on the starting grid yesterday, which involved Maximilian Gertz and was all provoked by Martin Tomczyk. And Martin Tomczyk, of course, a BMW driver, head of BMW DTM, is Jens Marquardt with Verena now.
And here I am with Jens Marquardt. Now, Mr. Marquardt, you said yesterday if the sun's shining, you're going to do better than yesterday. Today you're starting in P6 and 7, so with the best BMW. So, that means where are you going to go from there?
Well, hopefully forward. I mean, qualifying was tough, yeah, with a red flag and everything. I think we still have a good potential. Today is also with a pit stop and strategy, so I think we're well prepared. We have a good pack of cars also just outside of the top 10. So I think there's going to be a lot of movement here today.
I bet. Thank you very much. Best of luck and back to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. Well, Jens Marquardt there, who made a promise yesterday that he would get the BMWs to perform better if the sun shone, because yesterday was a bit overcast. Track and air temperatures are a bit higher today, and it's a longer race as well. The duration 60 minutes plus 1 lap, of course. And he makes the point, Leo Gorman, strategy plays a part as well because of the mandatory pit stop. And I think we could see a lot of movement in the race today.
Absolutely, and it's important to realise, it's important to understand, it's not just the actual pit stop itself when you're talking about strategy, it's when you take your pit stop. It's in that small window. Do you leave it too long? Do you run longer on your first set of tyres and maybe hope you get a little bit of free air when everyone else in front of you pits? Or do you actually, or do you go in just as the pit session opens and hopefully maybe drop to the back grid, get some clean air there, and maybe go up the order when everyone else finally makes their stop.
So tyres going on to the Daniel Juncker-Deyer car now. Daniel Juncker-Deyer unfortunately didn't set a time in qualifying because he had an off, but here is the Drivers' Championship, and look how tight it is at the top. Just 10 points between Marco Wittmann and Robert Wickens, and we see Eduardo Mortara in P3 in the points, and Jamie Green in P4 as well, so it's looking very, very interesting at the top of the championship table. Here's Uli Fritz now from Mercedes-Benz.
Yep, so just before the race, we're taking a little stroll here off the track with Uli Fritz. Mercedes-Benz equally strong. You're in P2 and P3. However, the weather conditions are completely different. It's hot and sunny. So do you think that's going to influence you better?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we will see how the race will develop, but for sure the hotter weather will have implications on the track temperature and therefore the tire degradation. So yeah, not really sure what to expect here. We will see in the next hour.
I guess we will. Thank you very much, and back to you.
Thank you very much, Verena. Good line in English language there from Uli Fritz. Develop, which is develop. Good to talk, and Verena always managing to get hold of those that are at the top table when it comes to the manufacturers, as we watch Maxime Martin then in final stages of preparation ahead of this race. And that's a really, really good shot and shows the Hankook tyres, which, of course, all the DTM drivers run. And we're talking about tyre degradation and how the warmer temperatures today will affect those things. Lucas Auer inside his car then, and Lucas Auer, well, he's a bit disappointed with his qualifying, only going from P19 in the Muka Motorsport car. And lots of spectators here to enjoy the sunshine and enjoy the great race action that comes from DTM. And, well, with 2 Brits on the front row, it's going to be good. Jamie Green, Gary Paffett. Bear in mind that your pole position is to the very, very right of your picture as you saw it there. You need to be on the left-hand side for turn number 1, which means we've seen in other categories, Lee, where P2 can be a slight advantage sometimes.
It can do, because the natural line going into turn 1 is actually the inside line, which you kind of hug. So the driver on pole who's on the outside line really needs to come across and make that corner their own. But if someone from P2 is there, well, it makes it difficult. You're going to go side by side into turn 1, which often happens in some of the races here at Zandvoort. One of the more interesting things about this start, and I think it's a little bit more organised today, David. If you remember yesterday, at the very start of the race, we still had people on the at the back of the grid just before the race was actually began. And it meant
these were pedestrians, not drivers we're talking about here.
Oh yeah,
team members.
It was the last vestiges of team members at the very end of the grid. And it actually held the start of the race on for an extra 4 or 5 seconds, I do believe. And that's not something that really the drivers want to experience, because obviously they're waiting in the car, they're waiting for the race to get going, but it also means engine temperatures actually continue to rise, radiator temperature, you know, it's not good for the car, but also tire temperature begins to dive, brake temperatures begin to dive, and it makes going into turn one that little bit more precarious if you're no longer anywhere near the optimum levels.
Good point you make, and of course it's always a disadvantage in a funny sort of way that if you're right at the front of the pack, you're the ones that have to wait the longest for the rest of the cars to come into the grid and into their grid boxes. You'll hear on the team radio as the engineers guide their drivers into the grid boxes. There are sensors, and if you only need to be a centimetre out in your grid box, and you could get a penalty for that. So it's actually critically important to be very, very accurate in terms of taking your grid box after the formation lap, which is what we're on now. Green, Paffett, the front row, Vittoris, Mortara, the second row, then it's Wickens and Glock.
And this is a key part to the actual warm-up lap as well. As the kind of field goes right around the final lap, the track map we see on the screen now, there is a little chicane towards the end of the circuit. It's kind of the second, third last corner of the circuit, and that's where you will really see Green begin to pack, get the field packed up together, close together, so that he doesn't actually have to wait on the grid for too long. Yeah, no, it's a very fair point. The car's making their way around this 4.3 kilometre circuit then, and it is a firm favourite of the drivers, that's for sure. After saying that, and forgive us for having repeated this, it is an old school circuit as we look at the temperatures there. It's at 35.1 track temperature, air temperature 21 degrees. An old school circuit, which means that there are no acres and acres and acres of tarmac runoff area. If you go offline, if you overstep the track limit, you're either on grass, curbs, sand, and you can be in trouble because this track bites. Listen to Jamie Green being guided into his pit box now.
4, 3, 2, 1, stop.
Millimetric accuracy there, Lee, as Jamie Green was guided into his pit box.
It's a metaphorical ruler in front of that car, I believe. Yeah.
Into the manufacturers' garages, Audi first of all, and then to BMW, and of course, always to Mercedes-Benz as well. Uli Fritz to the very left of your picture there, the DTM boss. Look of tension and anxiety on the faces of all the team members, always at the start of this race. So, final cars coming into the grid right now.
Juncadella pulling into the final slot of the grid as the team members clear the back end of the grid and run into the pit lane. Green flag goes flying in the back, so we're ready to go, Dave.
Yes, we'll throw the lights to the top of the screen. Oh, well, in fairness, you can see them from the gantry here. When 5 lights are extinguished, we will be away and racing. The engine note rises, so too does the excitement. Watch for Green and Paffett. If Paffett gets a really, really good start, and it looks like it's not a bad one, but brilliant start from Esteban Ocon. Watch this. Jamie Green trying to squeeze Gary Paffett out and does that successfully.
I think Wickens got a wonderful start there as well, but it's Green who's got the best start. He leads the race ahead of Paffett.
Absolutely right. It was a blistering start from Robert Wickens.
It's gone from 5th into 3rd place, and he's ahead of Vittoris and Mortara.
So Jamie Green, Gary Paffett, Robert Wickens, Christian Vittoris then as they come out of turn number 2 and head to the back of the circuit now, side by side. Augusto Farfus and Maxime Martin there, and Augusto Farfus makes a move on Maxime Martin.
One driver who got a bit of a poor start there is Tim McLaugh, who was 6th on the grid. He's dropped to 8th. Marco Wittmann, and well, Nico Muller was ahead of him, but is actually just fallen back down to 9th slightly. Esteban Ocon in 8th now, as Glock back up to 7th.
Right, Rockefeller also one that lost out at the opening lap here. So as the cars settle down and continue this first lap of the hour-long +1 lap DTM race that comes on Sunday here in the sunshine at Zandvoort on Sea. Gary Paffett and Robert Wickens very, very much keeping in touch with Jamie Green. Matthias Ekstrom goes through this chicane section that Lee was mentioning earlier on. It's sort of second from last corner. That's where that is. And right at the back there is Daniel Juncker-Deyer. Ahead of him is Rennie Rast, who is racing in Adrien Tombé's car, because Adrien Tombé's injury to his arm means that he can't race today. So 1 lap completed. Jamie Green then just 2/10 ahead of Gary Paffett. Then it's Robert Wickens, Christian Vitoris, Eduardo Mortara, Marco Wittmann, Timo Glock and Esteban Ocon.
This is an important lap now for Gary Paffett. He's 0.2 of a second.
And Mike Rockenfeller under investigation there for forcing another car to leave the track, and we can only assume potentially that it was this number 7 car.
It's Bruno Spengler. He's actually having the door removed, the driver's side door removed in his car, and away he goes. I was about to say, Paffett only 2/10.
And that's Scheider in trouble.
2/10 was the gap for Paffett. Now DRS has been enabled. It looks as if he's dropped back slightly.
So Timo Scheider
copy.
on.
Is the car completely damaged? Can you continue, Timo?
To be honest, I don't know. I'm trying to touch the wall. Was high barriers.
So Timo Scheider then touched the wall.
Box in this lap, Timo, box in this lap.
And is being told to box this lap. And here it is.
It's Farfus.
Yes, contact between himself and Farfus. And that really, really did spin Timo around. Now,
oh, yes, and he's clattered the barrier.
Well, it wasn't, and crucially, Lee, I think he caught the tyres rather than the barrier.
Yeah.
Now, having a discussion with Nick Yellowly, a racing driver, earlier on about this, and he made the point that if you just glance the Armco barrier, you tend to slide off that, whereas the tyres actually, in a funny sort of way, can do more damage. As
it's Robert Wickens going through for second place. I think it is. He's taking Gary Paffett.
Just as we were talking about that, we crossed to that as Robert Wickens has got ahead of Gary Paffett, and now the chase will be on to Jamie Green, who, it has to be said, has opened up a margin of some 6/10 over the pack behind. Under investigation, that incident that we were watching between Augusto Farfus and also Timo Scheider.
I must admit, Paffett didn't make that hugely difficult for Robert Wickens. I think
indicated right.
The bar. I think that's that.
So Wickens in this fantastic position now, isn't he? And bearing in mind, when you're looking at the point situation, Eduardo Mortara there, who is running in P5, has got 2 very potent Mercedes cars ahead of him to try and get past. And that is not going to be made very easily.
And not just that, the person in 6th place behind even Mortara is Wittmann.
Absolutely. So Robert Wickens now expect him to be on an absolute charge.
There's a black and white flag for Mike Rockenfeller for forcing another driver off the track. Didn't see that in the broadcast earlier on, but the stewards have given a warning to Mike Rockenfeller, and well, he'll be liable for a penalty if he has any other incidents in this race.
Yes, black and white flag is just a warning flag. So, right, here comes Jamie Green, and what he's desperately trying to do, and he's achieved it so far, is he's 1.2 seconds up the road, and 1.2 seconds is absolutely crucial, that additional 2 seconds. Robert Wickens is really going to try and close that gap, and see a replay of the start here now. Actually, I thought Gary got a really good start, but equally good start was Jamie Green, so...
But watch Wickens slide right through the middle of the second row and right into 3rd place. Paffett did have an opportunity, but then Green covered the line into the first corner just enough. And this is what I was saying earlier on. To go into turn 1, you really need to hug the apex as you kind of go around the corner, because you tend to be thrown slightly out to the outside line as the corner uncovers.
As you look at the start reaction there, Green marginally more green than Gary Paffett in that. And there's Augusto Farfus running out onto the...
I wonder if that's the Rockenfeller incident, actually. Now on board with Mortara.
On board in 2 with Maxime Martin.
Oh, and Connor, one astonishing little wobbler coming through the outside of turn 1 as he slots past Farfus, who's recovering from going off the circuit on the exit of the corner.
And talking of Farfus, car number 18 now, as you're talking about Augusto Farfus, the MTech driver, drive-through penalty.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's not a huge surprise. The incident he had with Bruno Spengler, it was a bit optimistic, I think, or ill-judged is probably another way to put it.
So there we have Augusto Farfus then, drive-through penalty for causing a collision. Well, Augusto, we saw in our summary of race number 1, if you were watching race number 1, you will have seen yesterday that his race was brought to an end when he had to jump onto a scooter, and this was the incident with Timo Scheider.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just misjudged the gap, really, and Spengler was always going to...
Scheider.
Sorry, yes, it was Scheider. Scheider was always going to close the door. Farfus was never really going to be able to fit in that gap.
Well... And there we see.
And he is out, yeah.
Yes,
he is.
The consequence of that is Timo Scheider is not in this race. But let's focus on what is happening now. And what is happening now is 4/10 has disappeared from the cushion that Jamie Green had over Robert Wickens, which is utterly, utterly crucial when it comes to DRS use. And that means that Robert Wickens can get ever closer to Jamie Green and try and find a way past. Absolutely crucial in the points chart, of course, and in the race itself. So it's Green that's P1, Wickens is P2, and Gary Paffett and Christian Vittorius. Line astern P3 and 4, which is not helping Eduardo Mortara and Marco Wittmann, who, of course, are P5 and P6. So Robert Wickens really has got a pair of wingmen working very hard for him, hasn't he?
Absolutely, and the thing with Wickens as well, he was able to glide to race victory yesterday. Slightly different challenge today. He's actually going to overtake Jamie Green to get that win. And this will be a real test of how well Wickens is in tune with this circuit. He's taking another 3/10 out of Jamie Green. The gap now less than around a half a second. I think we got a battle on, don't we?
Absolutely, we've got a fantastic race at the front. And also, you know what? It's very, very hard to overtake here, potentially. If they can't make it work out on track, the advantage of having the 60-minute race duration plus 1 lap and the mandatory pit stop means that places can be won and lost in those pit stops. So, you know, the teams will be looking at this. They'll be analysing every single centimetre that's being used of the tarmac right now. And if Robert Wickens can't make a pass on Jamie Green, then they'll try and do that in the pit lane.
Absolutely. The thing with overtaking here at Zandvoort is something we mentioned in one of the races yesterday, is an overtake at the end of the start-finish straight often begins at the chicane on the most of the way through the previous lap.
Yes.
Because if you get the chicane, a good line through the chicane, if you get good momentum, that means you got good momentum through the final corner, then a very good exit out of the final corner and down the start-finish straight. And if you get slightly better than the car in front, that can give you just a little bit extra to try and make a move.
Well, it's that little additional momentum. Timo Scheider is a disappointed man, and Verena has done very well to catch up with him already.
Of course, Timo is disappointed in the second lap, got you out. You did quite a few spins there in the incident with Farfus.
Yeah, he hit me on the rear right, going to turn 2. You can call it bad luck, but in the end we had a tough weekend anyway so far. But yeah, he got the drive-through for that right now. So I think in the end he deserved that at least. But we had to stop the car because the suspension is bended, so due to safety reasons we had to stop.
Very unfortunate. Thank you very much, Timo, and back to you.
Well done, Verena, getting hold of Timo Scheider straight away then, and as he says, there was damage, and there you can see the Bruno Spengler door, and Mike Rockenfeller and Augusto Farfus together there as well, and this was even before Timo Scheider got involved. So
I think you can really see there Rocky forcing Farfus out wide. Okay,
and that's the black and white flag. You know, Rocky has been warned, hasn't he? But
it's an unfortunate incident to a degree because it's the first corner of the race. The entire field is together, and these incidents will happen from time to time.
Yeah,
but as a racing driver, you still need to be aware that you have the entire field around you. You cannot just go bulldozing into a corner and expect everyone to fall away.
No, absolutely not. But do you know what, Lee, as race fans, we love to see the rough and tumble of the action as well, don't we? Come on. Now, interestingly, Robert Wickens has not been able to reduce that margin to Jamie Green yet. Now, Green still with 5/10 over Robert Wickens. there's Eduardo Mortara. Now, Mortara's got Vitoris and Paffett ahead of him, and that's going to make life very, very difficult for him. And Mortara has really, really pulled away from Marco Wittmann now. Marco Wittmann is almost like a cork in a bottle, really, going from P6. You've got Glock, Ocon, and Muller, and Blomqvist, and Ekstrom, and De Resta.
The BMW pace today is strange. It is significantly warmer than it was yesterday, but the air temperature is up 4 or 5 degrees, but the actual track temperature is up over 15 degrees. And the BMW so far at the moment, they've had a weight break. Let's not forget that. They were reduced by another 5 kilos, where Audi and Mercedes received an additional 5 kilos. So they are running 12.5k lighter than their manufacturer rivals on track. But for whatever reason, the pace just does not seem to be there at the moment.
We're on board with Maxime Martin then, one of the BMW drivers. And Maxime Martin then, good inside the car shot running from P19. The order on the left-hand side of your screen at the moment, the best BMW is Marco Wittmann in P6, Timo Glock is P7, but it's Audi, Mercedes, 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 Audi before we get to Marco Wittmann. This fantastic heli shot then as the cars make their way around this really, really challenging circuit of Circuit Park Zandvoort. Jamie Green then 5/10 last time around. He had over Robert Wickens.
And they're setting almost identical sector times now as well. If you look at Sector 1, it's a 41.3 and a 41.3. I think Sector 2, it's a 24.6 and a 24.6. And as they come across the start-finish line, their final sectors respectively are a 28.0 and a 28.0.
So actually Green was marginally quicker, wasn't he, on that last lap than Robert Wickens by just under a tenth. So Green then doing a good job out front in the Audi at the moment from his fantastic start. And Robert Wickens then very soon on his tail, though, having got past Gary Paffett. And Paffett and Christian Vitoris then running P3 and P4. There then was the Timo Glock car, which is the second best of the BMWs. That's the best one, just gone through on shot now. Marco Wittmann. I said right at the very, very start, keep your eyes on Esteban Ocon. Start reaction was interesting. And Esteban Ocon this weekend, I really felt, has qualified supremely well. And we know what a talented driver he is. And it takes a little while just to get everything, absolutely every box ticked when it comes to the cars. Right, DRS enabled now, so that means all of a sudden Robert Wickens will get ever closer, because the deployment of that DRS is something that Robert Wickens can do. It's something that Jamie Green cannot do, because of course he has nothing in front of him by dint of the fact he's leading the race. So Robert Wickens really can attack now, but even with DRS, Lee, ain't going to be easy for him to get past Jamie Green.
It's going to be difficult. Paffett needs to get very close coming through the final corner, and that's not often easy, because it's a high downforce circuit, and the front end of Wickens' car will wash out a small bit. We just saw there, the gap was 0.4 of a second, and it wasn't even enough to get under the rear wing of Green out front. In a sense, Jamie probably needs to make a mistake for Robert to go through, but that's all dependent on Wickens really forcing the issue on Green and really pushing to the point where maybe Green gets distracted, or maybe if Green starts racing in his mirrors and suddenly Robert is a little bit closer to come through the back end of the circuit.
Absolutely, and Robert Wickens is making his intentions really known, as Jamie Green's rearview mirror is full of that all-silver Mercedes-Benz of Robert Wickens, which is currently running in P2. Gary Paffett and Christian Vitoris acting in a fantastic protectionist mode, although after saying that, Edo Mortara is nowhere near them in terms of the importance for him to put some points on the board. DRS deployed now by Robert Wickens as he tries to get ever closer to Jamie Green, and teams all preparing for the mandatory pit stops, which will come a little bit later into the race. And that's just how close those two are. And all it will take is a little slip from Jamie Green. And as you made the point, Lee, Robert Wickens has got to be in the position to be able to take advantage should a mistake occur.
I think Wickens is a little bit closer this time around. Whether he's close enough as to come across the start-finish line to complete lap 10. The gap is only 0.1 of a second, but Green covers the inside line. Robert Wickens forced to the outside, doesn't have quite the amount of momentum, but Wickens now turns to the inside. Will he get a run out into turn 2? Not quite, but they're side by side. Does he have the inside? Green holds it.
And good racing from both of them there, with racing room allowed for both of them. But Jamie Green is being harried now by Robert Wickens, who in turn is being pushed into this.
2 laps to the stop, 2 laps.
Being pushed into this by Gary Pafford as well, who's saying...
Struggling with general grip. General grip is dropping.
Well, that's interesting to hear that from Jamie Green.
And a little mistake there from Robert Wickens a couple of corners back. He actually got too close to Jamie Green. He's had to lift off ever so slightly and actually dropped a couple of tenths of a second as a result. But he's still there, and Paffett is also still there. Vitoris is still there. Green very much driving in his mirrors at the moment.
And what we did hear in that radio team message was that Jamie Green is going to be an early stopper.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, tellingly, I think he's beginning to lose a little bit of life in those Hankook tyres.
Now, given the pace of Robert Wickens, if you were the engineer for Robert Wickens, or you were in charge of strategy for Robert Wickens, the HWA team, surely with Jamie Green coming in early, you'd keep Robert out there for as long as possible, because he'll have a clear track ahead of him and he can really try and make every lap thereafter almost a quali lap to try and, you know, vault Jamie Green when it comes to the pit stops.
It's a curious thing at the moment, because if we actually look down the order, if we go all the way to P21...
Robert, box this lap, confirm pit stop.
I'll finish my thought anyway.
My strategy's gone then, isn't it?
There's only 16 seconds down to Junckerdea in P21, so if they take a stop and maybe do it in 20 to 25 seconds, completely in the pits, they're actually going to come out in clean air anywhere, because Farfus in P22, there's 10 seconds between him and Junckerdea. So there's still a huge gap for those top drivers to slot into.
Well, the entertainment value for us is going to be heightened still further, isn't it? Because both Jamie Green and Robert Wickens have been told that they're going to stop early then. And you can see Jamie Green has really got the hurry up now. And you're right, Robert Wickens has just died back a little bit. I mean, we're talking about merely a couple of tenths. There's only 4 tenths between them.
And this is a curious strategy from Mercedes, I must admit, because it really is coming down to the pit stop, where I believe Wickens in free air.
Box this lap.
I think Wickens in free air may actually be faster over a course of a few laps.
That's the very point that I was making. But, you know, there are people cleverer than you and I that are working very, very hard. So here comes Jamie Green then. And the team are ready. As you can see, we have cameras down there, of course, and what they need is a very, very good stop here. Green in, Wickens in at the same time. This is going to be absolutely brilliant.
Mortara, I think, could be onto a good thing here.
Possibly so. That Marco Wittmann comes in as well.
Wittmann, Blomqvist, both in as well. Da Costa's in.
Oh, Wickens is away already. Where is Jamie Green going to come out now?
It's a faster stop, and I don't think this has worked.
You should be clear there. Watch. Clear, Jamie. Clear. Push,
That's not worked for Robert Wickens at all. He's actually dropped a little bit further behind Green.
Well, I think the difference between the two of them was negligible in terms of the pit stop, but you're absolutely right. And you can see Augusto Farfus in the background there. So both those drivers taking their pit stops early on, and I'm really surprised by that. So the race leader now is Gary Paffett, with Christian Vitoris, who is P2, and Eduardo Mortara is P3.
It'd be interesting to see the actual respective lap times between Jamie Green and Gary Paffett, because both of them are technically in free air in front of.
You mean Robert Wickens rather than Gary Paffett, because of course Paffett has stayed out.
Yeah, but Paffett stayed out, but Green as well, ahead of...
Oh, I beg your pardon, yes.
Ahead
yes,
of course. Are in free air, because they're just ahead of Farfus.
Yes.
With a long gap to Junckerdea. Paffett is in free air because he's actually in the lead of this race.
Yes, that's a very good point. Well, we're going to be able to do that, aren't we? Gary Paffett then leading Christian Vitoris at the moment, leading Eduardo Mortara. But of course, those three drivers, in fact, Paffett, Vitoris, Mortara, well, you can see from P1 down to P16 have not stopped yet. Although now in comes Gary Paffett. So you're not going to be able to do your calculation, Lee, are you, sadly?
Vitoris and Mortara have stayed out. Glock is in as well. Ocon's up to P3 as the pit stops unfold.
26 laps to go.
Oh, and it's not. That's not a good stop.
It's not worked out well at all for Paffett, has it? He's lost even another 2 seconds. And there go Green and Wickens. Don't fall behind Farfus. Farfus has got momentum. He hasn't stopped yet. He's not stopped for a traditional pit stop, as it were. He's had a drive-through penalty, of course.
Well, Paffett is out ahead of Farfus, so he hasn't got what will effectively be a backmarking car in his way.
Interestingly, Vitoris, last lap, he stayed out. He's hit a 1 minute 34.3, which is actually several tenths, about 3 or 4 tenths faster than what Green, Paffett, Wickens, etc. were doing prior to the pit stops.
This is what I find confusing. I would have thought, knowing that Jamie Green was going to come in early, let Robert stay out there. But then after saying that, it may be that they decided that the performance is going to be far better after the pit stop. So Christian Vitoris leading the race over Eduardo Mortara then. And Edo getting ever closer to Christian Vitoris now. And we're on board with Eduardo Mortara. Bear in mind that this car and the car ahead are still to stop, as is Ocon, Muller, Ekstrom, Molina, Auer, Gertz, Rockefeller, Rennie Rast and Daniel Juncadella as well. So too, for that matter, is Augusto Farfus, but Eduardo Mortara and Christian Vitoris come in at the same time.
Bear in mind the gap from Vitoris down to Green was 20.8 seconds. Not entirely sure it's going to be enough, but it's going to be close. They might actually get Paffett.
Well, the Christian Vitoris stop was not a quick one. Here comes Eduardo Mortara, got to beat 3.9 on the clock, and they've done it now. Oh no, Mortara's going to have to yield.
I think they may still look at that for a dangerous release.
Well, I think Mortara did yield. I think had he not yielded, that might have been a different story. Christian Vitoris and Gary Paffett absolutely side by side there.
And look how close Paffett was actually to losing that position to Vitoris.
Yes. But
meanwhile, Esteban Ocon leads.
Well, there you are. Esteban Ocon not come in for his stop yet, so you have a situation where Ocon is leading Nico Muller, Matthias Ekstrom and Miguel Molina. We're on board with Eduardo Mortara, who has still effectively got problems ahead of him, hasn't he? Now, he clearly tried, and actually seeing it from that angle, perhaps you're right, Lee, perhaps that will be looked at. Because he was clearly going to go for it, wasn't he?
Okay, Robert, so gap to car in front is 1.1 seconds, and it looks like everyone basically held position.
Well, that's my interpretation of it as well.
Edo really had to pull out of that last moment, and the stewards will look at that, and we'll see what decision they come to later on. But meanwhile,
does it not though? You know. All right, unsafe release often when there is when there is contact between the two drivers. There wasn't, was there?
No, but I think it was more that Mortara really had to oversteer out of the way to avoid contact.
We will see. So at the moment, it's Nico Muller leading the race. Of course, Nico Muller, a race winner this year. Muller, Ekstrom, Molina, Auer, Gertz, Rockefeller, Rast and Juncadella. But of course, all those yet to stop.
The thing now, we're getting to the stage of the race where those drivers on the starting tyres.
Green behind you and help Robert.
You're on the same pressure strategy. You're on the same pressure strategy as run one, so it should come.
Now, this is really interesting to hear that radio message, isn't it? Daniel Juncadella, who is running in P8, and Jamie Green. So.
Well, this is what I was about to mention, is those drivers who are staying out, their pace is actually beginning to drop off now. They're falling into the mid-1 minute 35s. So Green, his tyres are up to temperature, they're now 33s.
Daniel Juncadella is going to stick his elbows out here and make that Mercedes wider than ever before.
They're incredibly big elbows, by the way. I think they're going to stretch right across the circuit.
Well, let's see this unfold now as Jamie Green, desperate, of course, to try and get past that Daniel Juncadella car. Through the chicane they go. Robert Wickens now very nearly on the boot lead of Jamie Green, and this is really being helped. To be fair, Juncadella ahead of him is Rennie Rast, but of course Rennie Rast isn't really able to too much help Jamie Green. In fact, it runs a little bit wide there and kicks up a bit of the sand from the dunes. And as they head towards, Daniel Juncadella ain't going to come in this time.
Yeah, Robert, gap is 0.5.
Green might make a move here, but Paffett isn't close enough to follow through. Juncadella, he hasn't got the tyres to hold on. Paffett goes through anyway. And
Wickens.
Of course, Wickens goes through anyway. Juncadella very much held the door open for his Mercedes stablemate. But Wickens just wasn't close enough to Green to make the move there.
No, and probably Robert could have done with a little more help from Daniel Juncadella, to be honest with you. But as you say, Jamie Green is...
Danny, do you have a problem?
Jamie Green is not going to be held up by Rennie Rast, but Rennie Rast might now be held up.
Understood.
Might hold up Robert Wickens. He's not going to make it easy for Robert Wickens to come past. So all of a sudden the roles are completely reversed here, aren't they? Where Robert Wickens was going to get a helping hand from Daniel Juncadella, he's certainly not going to get a helping hand from Rennie Rast, who of course is driving for Audi, in for Adrien Tombe, and that means that Jamie Green is allowed to and enabled to get up the road, isn't it?
And I just had the chuckles of myself recently, just a moment ago. Rast sitting on the apex, and Wickens is going to get through here and on the inside of the chicane. But yeah, Green's got the guts of a second out of that nearly.
Yeah. So for your information, in front of Gary is Scheider, who hasn't a pit stop yet.
Rob, well done, well done.
And he boxed this lap, We go for pit stop now.
So Juncadella being brought into the pits now. It's not Scheider ahead of Gary Paffett. It is Rennie Rast. Scheider, of course, a retirement from the race very early on, sadly. So now Robert Wickens has got to make up several corners worth, hasn't he, of trying to get back on terms with Jamie Green as Gary Paffett goes through on the inside of Rennie Rast through turn number 1. Christian Vitoris will be the next to line up that Audi of Rennie Rast into the target site. So a reminder to you, Rennie Rast racing in this race because Adrien Tombe injured from yesterday.
And I don't think Rennie Rast was
18 laps of DRS, and we have 15 laps of DRS.
I don't think Rennie Rast was actually hugely expecting that, to be brutally honest. Gary Paffett really kind of nailed the overtake quite late on the approach into the corner.
Well, both Gary Paffett and Rennie Rast, of course, hugely experienced racing drivers. And now Christian Vitoris up against Rennie Rast. So what can Christian Vitoris do here? And what he doesn't want to do is allow Eduardo Mortara to get too close to him. But it's a mistake from Rast. So that allows Christian Vitoris to go through. He's not going to hold up Eduardo Mortara, that's for sure. But Christian Vitoris has got the job done. I'm not going to say he provoked Rennie Rast into making a mistake, but it probably helped a little, didn't it?
I wonder if Rast's tyres have reached a stage now where they're beginning to scream enough.
Needs to come in. Yeah, he's...
Mortara's gone through. Rast is not even going to think of holding up his teammate in that instance.
No, of course not. So the leader of the race now is Matthias Ekstrom. Matthias Ekstrom has not pitted yet, and I'll tell you what, that was a good hold from Rennie Rast.
That's a similar... Gap to car in front, 1.6.
That's similar to the situation we saw with Juncadella in qualifying this morning, only Juncadella pretty much stayed offline and ended up in the gravel trap by the barrier.
Crucial team radio there, 1.6 behind Jamie Green is Robert Wickens, which means that he does not have DRS available to him.
No, and that is really what happened when Wickens got caught behind Rast, even for those...
Gap is 1.6.
And what can help here is if Jamie Green, within a second of Mike Rockefeller, he will have DRS. And what you might find is that, that will really, really disadvantage Robert Wickens.
The other thing as well is Green is now at the back of an Audi quartet. And this might well play into his hands. Okay, the gaps are extended slightly, but Green is so much quicker than those ahead of him. He'll catch them, and most likely he'll have an easy ride through to the front of the field. Whereas Paffett, if those cars stay out only for a few more minutes.
Yes, absolutely. Wickens, he's not going to be advantaged by those Audi drivers. Jamie Green, of course, he is not going to be held up by fellow Audi drivers. Matthias Ekstrom and Miguel Molina, P1 and P2. Mike Rockefeller is P3. So, of those that have stopped, it's Green, Wickens, Paffett, Vitoris, Mortara. But we are looking at the current race leader who's staying out for a long time here, Matthias Ekstrom. Still think that I am surprised that they didn't choose to leave Rob Wickens out there for a long time.
Here's Green on Rocky, and you'll see this is the strategy that's going to develop. Rocky is let Green through. Wickens is not going to have such an easy time to get through the... But then when you have Molina in front of him, then Ekstrom, and suddenly you have 3 cars in between Green and Wickens.
The only advantage that perhaps Robert Wickens has
That's the Wickens 1.2 gap.
is that those Audis have got to come in.
Oh, they do. And they will run their tyre life right to the end until they absolutely have to, and by which point Green could be
is
gone into the distance. And Wickens is really having a fight just to get by Rocky. Rocky's not letting this go by any stretch of the imagination.
And why should he? You know, I completely understand the strategy that's playing out here, and I have to say, I think the Audi strategy, look at that, he's really...
Green's romping away, isn't
I mean, that's defending more than defending, isn't it, really? Mike Rockenfeller making that Audi as wide as he possibly can to advantage his brand mate, Jamie Green, who you can see there. Robert Wickens
those
desperately
guys
trying.
around you now still need to pit.
Wickens needs to pass. He needs to pass.
He's got it. He's done it now. But again,
he's lost a lot in the meantime.
He has lost a lot in the meantime, and now Gary Paffett and Christian Vittoris are going to want to do exactly the same.
Paffett down the inside of Rocky as they come to the far side of the circuit.
Vittoris as well.
Going to go through as well. As Rocky goes wide, loses a little bit of grip. He's going to pit soon. He has to pit soon.
So there's Green saying, you know, he wants to be within the DRS window for Miguel Molina as well, and that's going to give him the additions that he needs. Robert Wickens has got a real chase on his hands.
The gap between Green and Molina is 2.1 seconds, but on that last lap, Green was actually 1.6 seconds slower. I think the pace is probably going to...
Gap is 2.7 gap.
Green used DRS on the lap before. He has 17 laps of DRS remaining. 17 laps remaining.
So Robert Wickens then being advised how much DRS that Jamie Green has got available to him.
Audi's Edo Mortara, he's chasing Wickens, Vittoris and Paffett ahead. Wickens and P4 just ahead of those two.
So what Jamie Green needs to do is get into that DRS window of Miguel Molina. And there, the gap between Green and Wickens, as you can see.
Green took 7 tenths on the first sector alone, and another 2 tenths in the middle sector of the lap. As a side note, Dave, we're talking an awful lot about Mercedes, and we're talking an awful lot about Audi. The highest BMW at the moment is Whitman in P9. Now there's some drivers still ahead that need to pit, so Whitman will come up about 2 or 3 positions. But this is not the best of showing for BMW, despite their weight break after qualifying.
Despite their dominance here at this particular circuit last year. Right. Okay, Ekstrom and Molina still yet to pit. Green, Wickens, Paffett, Vittoris, Mortara all have. Mike Rockenfeller hasn't. And then we get Wittmann, Block, Muller. In fact, the only other driver that hasn't then pitted is René Rast in the Adrian Tombe car.
2.8, 2.8. And to the front, it's 1.1.
I'm curious as to why they haven't actually pitted Rat, because his times have dropped into the 38s at the moment, and I think he's really he's struggling with this, what is effectively a brand new tyre for him. He's not raced on these Hankook DTM tyres before.
There is Jamie Green, then doing a great job. He's got Miguel Molina ahead of him, and of course Miguel Molina has yet to stop, but he's certainly not going to stop Jamie Green coming past him.
Let's give him slip.
So every advantage being afforded to Jamie Green here by Miguel Molina.
And Green going by for P2. And now you've got another Audi in between Green and Wickens.
I think the damage limitation will be that Molina is going to have to stop, but of course he's going to make himself a nuisance for as long as he can.
Absolutely.
To hold up Robert Wickens, of course, and that will advantage Jamie Green. I just think Audi have read this race better than Mercedes-Benz.
Definitely. Once, and as you said earlier on, once Wickens actually pitted on the same lap.
16 laps, 16.1.
I do believe once Wickens actually pitted on the same lap as Green earlier on, it kind of, in a sense, handed the race to Audi. They really should have, and maybe needed to take advantage, for even if it was only 2 laps, but take advantage of the clear air ahead of them to actually put in a couple of quick laps and actually emerge from the pit stops ahead of Green. But in saying that...
3.2, 3.2.
We don't know, and of course we'll never know.
So the next car In front is Molina. He still needs to do a pit stop, so he's on old tyres.
We'll never know what pace Wickens could have offered, but anecdotally, if we looked at Jamie Green and Robert Wickens pre-pit stop, Wickens was clearly quicker.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The other thing as well is Mercedes, they did seem to have slower pit stops. When it came to the crunch, they did have slower pit stops than the Audis, and I think even in the pit lane alone, Green pulled out, it was 4 or 5 tenths of a second. You cannot give up that kind of time.
No, absolutely crucial. Well, Matthias Ekstrom then is virtually running on the rims, I would suggest now, isn't he? He's been out so long, but we've seen him do this before. He's able to just get the max out of those tyres and still perform very, very well. I mean, he's still lapping in the 134s, Matthias Ekstrom.
Now we start to gain really a lot. We need these laps, important push.
Ekstrom started.
Do I need to push for strategy, or am I just racing wicked?
Molina pits. Molina finally pits. Ekstrom, he started 9th in this race, and he's getting himself into a situation where he can maybe have a clear 20 seconds to do his pit stop and still come out of the points. It's touch and go. Touch and
Just
go.
racing weekend. The gap is 3 seconds. 3 seconds to weekend.
How was your show on the last
Okay, Robert, you are effectively P2. You are effectively
Maxime Martin running down in 21st place at the moment, just behind Danny Juncadella, who he's had a quiet race. I think Danny Juncadella, he's made a couple of spots here and there after starting last on the grid.
So we look at Maxime Martin then, the BMW driver, has Molina ahead of him.
How big is the gap to P3 from the...
Jamie Green really busy on the team radio, finding out what's happening around him. He knows he's got Matthias Ekstrom ahead of him, but of course, effectively, Jamie Green, once Matthias Ekstrom does come over for his pit stop, is the race leader. And what's also crucial is he's got a very, very healthy, comfortable gap between himself and Robert Wickens.
Gap's now 3 seconds.
Gap to P3, 3.6.
Well, there you go.
gap to car in front, 2.9. 2.9.
Eki continues on for yet another lap. Green taking 8 tenths of a second out of Ekstrom there. I mean, Ekstrom's still doing actually quite a reasonably healthy pace considering how old his tyres are. But Green, his tyres actually must be nearly 10 laps, 12 laps old at this stage. And
maybe 10. There's Marco Wittmann now with Mike Rockenfeller, and of course Marco Wittmann, who is running in P8, which is effectively P6 because Rocky and Ekstrom have got to pit, of course. But he's got Timo Glock and Nico Müller behind him.
This is actually also quite important. Rocky's now holding up the de facto championship leader at the moment. The guy leading the race is Green, who's 4th in the championship, only 20 points behind Wittmann.
Yeah, absolutely.
This could be actually, if Rocky continued to hold Wittmann back, this is a big win.
Well, it'll certainly cement the benefit that Jamie Green is going to take out of this, that's for sure. So Mike Rockenfeller, here's Nico Müller, just at the back of that quartet of cars, if you like. Mike Rockenfeller there from our heli shot. Marco Wittmann, the championship leader going into this race, behind the Mike Rockenfeller car. We've got a yellow flag in turns 8 and 9, which is quickly turned into a green flag. So someone had a minor off there just for a moment, and I suspect it's Maximilian Goertz.
And that is another left rear issue for Maxi Götz, and I wonder if the tyres come off.
Yeah, it looks like it has.
And I wonder, is this going to be a slow zone because he's just parked the car?
Interestingly, he's parked the car right by an exit, though, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, and it was contact with Esteban. Oh, no, that's a separate incident. That's Esteban Ocon with Antonio Felix da Costa. And there's where Maximilian Goertz got called out.
That explains as well why Ocon's actually dropped down the order quite a bit.
Well, the rubber has disappeared off the rim, hasn't it?
And the marshals effective as ever at Zandvoort, clearing the Maxi Götz car very, very quickly, and a brilliant effort once again by the marshals around this circuit. Meanwhile, Wittmann has taken Rocky.
Yes, and is away up the road, isn't he? So we're on board with Nico Müller now, who's behind Timo Glock, and Mike Rockefeller ahead of him. Mike Rockefeller and Matthias Ekstrom and Rennie Rast, the only drivers thus far that have not stopped for their mandatory pit stop. And there we can see the contact on Esteban Ocon.
Probably a touch too aggressive, I think, maybe on the inside right of Ocon.
Glock was sliding, wasn't he? Not Glock, Gertz was sliding there.
Well, the wheel's already gone.
Oh, the wheel's gone.
The wheel's
so
already
let go, hasn't it?
The wheel's already gone at that stage. I think he's probably that's completely separate. I think that's just maybe not attached properly in the pit stop.
Well, under investigation for that incident is car number 34 and car number 13. So
here's Ekstrom green into the lead. Wickens P2. The gap is now 2.8.
Antonio Felix da Costa are then under investigation for that contact with Esteban Ocon. Right, meantime, here's Matthias Ekstrom, and Audi, look, nailed that again. It's a 2.9 second stop. Where's he going to come out relative to right alongside the Lucas Auer car?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not quite worked for Ekstrom. He didn't build up enough of a lead to get ahead of this pack, and instead of maybe coming out at the far end of the points or near Rennie Rast, he's actually at the back of that pack.
Well, bear in mind, Rast is yet to come in, of course. So the incident between Ocon and Antonio Felix da Costa going to be dealt with after the race. In the meantime, we're on board with Lucas Auer, who's really fighting with that Mercedes-Benz. And Rennie Rast is the cork in the bottle there, isn't he? And Martin Tomczyk just having a look at the inside of Rennie Rast there, not able quite to make it work. Does so now, though, and Lucas Auer up the inside, and Matthias Ekstrom going to do the same as well. This is all against Tom Blomqvist, who you can see is out on the dirt there, isn't he?
He had a bit of a rallycross right there. I'm curious at the front of all this.
Gave me a hit from behind, then pushed me off circuit on the exit.
We saw that, Tom. That was in TV. We saw that Auer pushed you off.
I'm curious as to why Audi have yet to actually pit Rast. He's well into the 36s now, and he just now he finally pits. But he was just so far off the pace for a while that it seems strange that, although one might argue that he was trying to hold up the gap for Ekstrom to get out ahead of them, but it didn't quite work.
So Molina there, just with contact on the back of the Antonio Felix da Costa car as well. That was one of the Aeroflix flew up off the Miguel Molina car.
And you can see the back end of da Costa just slid out as he actually went into Jürgen Holt's corner there.
Right flick gone.
Damage to Molina's car as well.
Oh, and the bonnet is lifted up now. That's gonna.
I cannot see.
Oh, that's it, Molina. Can't see.
Steer to the right a bit, steer to the right, into grass.
This bastard in the middle of the straight. You can check in the news. You can check in the videos. It's in the middle of the straight.
Copy, Miguel. Slow in.
So Molina going to try and nurse that car back to the pit lane. Here is the incident once again.
I will forward the information.
Is that?
Yeah.
That was dangerous.
Oh.
Yes, we could see it in the replay that he was braking on the straight.
Well, people will have different interpretations
into the box,
of that.
forward into your box.
The incident didn't happen on the straight, though. It happened through the corner.
Well, I think it's it's that part there, isn't it? But Molina then in replay, at that point, he was unsighted of anywhere, wasn't he? And he was actually being guided where to drive by his race engineer.
I think the incident mainly, though, is coming from the exit of that corner. Molina's actually already clattered into the back of da Costa. Da Costa has lost all of the natural momentum he would have had on the exit of that corner and has a lot less speed. So I think, it's half of one and several dozen of the other.
Well, under investigation, interestingly, is the incident that we also saw between Lucas Auer and Tom Blomqvist. So Molina does manage to nurse the car back into the pit lane. Now, whether that, and I really rather suspect that that will be the end of Miguel Molina's race. 2.7 seconds is the margin.
And I think this is a repeat of the Auer Blomqvist incident.
Yeah, where Blomqvist feels that he was run out onto the dirt by...
Pull the data stick then, please.
Lucas Auer. It was a good save again from Tom Blomqvist, to be fair, wasn't it, to keep the car in pointing in the right direction. There's the replay of the damages of the Molina car.
And Blomqvist was always going to be in a difficult position there because he was always on the outside of those three. And if any driver was going to be kind of hung out to dry, as it were, it was probably always going to be Tom.
Right, now this is really interesting because up the road by 2.8 seconds is Jamie Green. P2 is Robert Wickens. P3 is Gary Paffett, who's ever closer to Robert Wickens now. Has Paffett got more pace than Robert Wickens? And therefore, can Gary Paffett take the chase over the final laps to Jamie Green?
Well, we saw yesterday that there was a little bit of strategy between Mercedes, between Paffett and Viatoris, where Paffett was let through into P3 to actually have a go at second place. It didn't work out in the end, and Paffett gave the position back to Viatoris. Possibly, we could be looking at a similar strategy today.
Depends.
But, yeah, the gap's 2.8 seconds. Though.
It is. It's a big gap, isn't it? And it also depends on what DRS availability is left for Robert Wickens and Gary Paffett.
And I don't think Green's struggling anytime soon. He looks to be controlling this space quite resolutely.
Yeah, 2.8 seconds the margin. In the meantime, Lucas Auer and
3.1 gap.
Matthias Ekstrom there. Ekstrom at the points in P12. Ahead of him is Auer and
Tomczyk
Martin
and Auer.
Tomczyk.
And I think BMW might be a little bit glad when this race is over 6th, 8th and 10th. Is not really what they were expecting at the beginning of this weekend.
Lucas Auer has given the black and white warning flag, and that will be for that incident with Tom Blomqvist.
Yeah, I think that's right too. It is something you do have to warn a driver, but maybe not strict enough that it actually warrants a penalty.
Well, Lucas Auer trying to go around the outside here, and
he's done it.
He has done it as well.
Fantastic move from Lucas Auer to overtake Martin Tomczyk around the outside of Tarzan. You don't see moves like that too often.
Well, Lucas Auer. You have to be really, really brave there, and in fairness,
it was a brilliant dummy actually, because Tomczyk, Auer ducks out into the middle of the road, Tomczyk defends, Auer moves back to the outside of the road, and suddenly Tomczyk's on the inside.
Remaining, including this one.
Tomczyk's on the inside, doesn't have quite the momentum Auer has, who was able to really put his foot down on the exit of the corner and pull away. Brilliant move.
Look how he's up the road now, but there was a little touch between Tomczyk and Auer on the exit of that overtake, wasn't there?
Yeah, well, they're competitive animals, they're not going to...
Of course they are. And now Matthias Ekstrom's having a go at Martin Tomczyk as well.
Show us more, Lucas, show us more.
Show us more, Lucas, show us more. Right, let's watch this now between Martin Tomczyk and Matthias Ekstrom.
Ekstrom's on fresher tyres, of course, because he was one of the last drivers to pit during the stops, and he is through.
Yeah, he does it. It's not without a touch or two, but he has gone through.
And Blomqvist now just behind Tomczyk, both BMW drivers. So will this be feisty, or will Tomczyk make it a little bit friendly?
We have to push that he doesn't get DRS. We have to push.
Well, Lucas Auer, of course, into the points.
8 laps to go.
And look at the pace that Lucas Auer has got now that he's been released from that Martin Tomczyk.
Auer 4.7 seconds behind the rest. I'm not entirely sure it's enough time to catch his fellow Mercedes driver and really make a move, but he's going to really push on and make a go for it at least.
Tell you who is pushing on. Jamie Green is now 3.2 seconds ahead of Robert Wickens.
I think what's happened there is...
To Ekstrom 1.2.
Audi have probably heard the Mercedes talk about maybe possibly switching Paffett or Viatoris around with Wickens. Audi have kind of responded by telling Jamie, just go for it, really show them your mettle and show them that you're not going to lose this lead. And, well, as a response to that, Green, as you just said, has pulled out to 3.2 seconds.
I don't know whether I agree with you, because I actually think Wickens is now marginally quicker than Paffett, and therefore there's no advantage, is there? I mean, clearly Robert Wickens in points championship situation, it's better for him to finish as high up the order as possible. Now, and I also think what will have played a part in that, Lee, is, of course, the teams will know what DRS usage they've got left, and if Paffett had loads more than Robert Wickens, arguably there would be a reason for doing it.
Meanwhile, our Engstrom, Tomczyk and Blomqvist still four of them line astern. We're on board now with Edo Mortara.
Engstrom will have DRS this lap. Cover the inside on start finish. Cover the inside.
Lucas Auer being the incident between Molina and Antonio Felix da Costa is under investigation as well, as you can see on race control ticker along the bottom of your screen. Eduardo Mortara we're on board with now, who's chasing down Christian Vitoris ahead of him. It's Christian Vitoris and Gary Paffett he has ahead of him. Just look at that margin that he has. And I'll tell you what, Gary Paffett all of a sudden has got to hurry up as well, because he's closer to Robert Wickens than he has been for the last couple of laps. So, but with 8 minutes left to run, and Jamie Green with a margin of 3.5 seconds, it's come down a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But it's not come down significantly enough. On board once again with Lucas Auer.
He's ahead of the gaggle of cars with Ekstrom only 3/10 behind him. Blomqvist just a couple of seconds back now, but he's got ahead of Tomczyk, who I think is under pressure from Juncadea.
Well, Lucas Auer, of course, being told to protect the inside line when it comes to turn number 1. You can see the DRS deployed by Matthias Ekstrom as Lucas Auer tries to make his Mercedes as wide as possible to prevent any attack from Matthias Ekstrom. Through the chicane they go, and as Lee has pointed out, often you make a move at turn 1, but you start making this move here. So the incident between Molina
and da Costa,
that's going to be investigated after the race.
Okay, Ekstrom has DRS to the end of the race.
Right, to the inside, Lucas Auer will go. You can see him, look at him. Look, 3, 4, 5 times, 6, he's looking in the mirror.
Here comes Eki on the outside line. He's going to try and do the same. Tomczyk doesn't quite work. Ekstrom moves to the inside, but will he get to the outside of the corner before it unfolds? No, he can't. Auer holds the position just for this moment.
Well, that was fantastic to see that onboard shot just before the turn. Lucas Auer spent more time looking at the rearview mirror than he did looking through the windscreen ahead of him. Knew that he'd got to defend that position. That's Robert Wickens on the grass.
Okay, Robert, confirm your boxing, confirm your boxing.
So Robert Wickens then, who was running P2.
Is that an issue for Robert, or has he actually just made a mistake?
Well, so there is Robert Wickens, who's going to drop down the order now, and look at that. That could cause a problem in terms of the temperature of the engine, because the whole front where the air intakes are is covered by grass now. So Robert Wickens with, wow, what a real disaster for him. And here it is in replay. And it was a mistake. Look, the back end stepping out there a little bit. That unsettling the car, and Gary Paffett was able to go through. That all started with that little oversteer moment with the back end stepping out.
It also looked as if, I've seen it noticed a couple of times, that he's locking up quite repeatedly. Well, and I wonder maybe if it was a tyre issue, or maybe...
Okay, Lucas, 5 laps to go, 5 laps.
Oh, and that's Christian Vitoris, who's got a puncture.
Okay, stay offline, the car's now behind you.
And suddenly for Mercedes...
It's all going...
Can you come back to the pits, please?
Pretty pear-shaped, isn't it? Wickens in and out again, but...
They've lost 2 cars in the top 4 on the same lap. Paffett now up to P2, but 6.4 behind Green. Yeah, I just noticed that it looked as if that Wickens was actually... Yeah, that's Vitoris. The tyre went while on the straight. Yeah. Or is that a suspension?
Could be. Well, Eduardo Mortara was certainly able to get past, wasn't he?
P19. Oh. 5 laps to go.
Robert Wickens, P19.
5 minutes to go, 5 minutes. Wickens and Vitoris in front had a puncture. You are close to the Resta and hour to overtake.
It's rescued the weekend a little for Marco Wittmann.
Good job, hour done. Now go for Di Resta,
who is now up to P4.
Yeah. Jamie Green has got a 6.2 second margin over Gary Paffett. And, well, Christian Vettori is trying to limp that car back to the pit lane. So the number 8 machine that you can see there, we have under 4 minutes of the race, plus 1 lap. And that in replay. Matthias Ekstrom on Lucas Auer.
And just as an indication as well, such has been the... he's driven a very good race himself, but Danny Juncadella, starting last, is actually up to P12.
It's 2 places away from being in the points. Extraordinary, isn't it?
He's driven well. He's not actually really overtaken many people. He's just actually driven. He's just driven a well, solid race.
Well, it's going to be the end of the race for Christian Vettori. He's being guided into the garage. What a great shame.
And after a podium yesterday as well, that's not how he wanted to end today's race.
So for Vettori and
the
Wickens.
cars in front are in trouble. Also Di Resta overtake, and Wittmann is also in trouble.
Well, Ekstrom is 1.5 seconds behind Di Resta. Do you think he'll have an opportunity for P7?
Well, he's going to go for it, isn't he? With all he's worth. Here's Nico Müller, who actually, without much fanfare, is in P5.
Again,
I think it might be the first time that we've mentioned the poor chap in this. There's been so much going on. So Nico Müller then with Marco Wittmann ahead of him.
And he's charging for that 4th place as well.
Marco Wittmann is going to try his level best to defend that, because the more points that Marco Wittmann can bank, and particularly with Robert Wickens in the position that he's in now, where's Eduardo Mortara? He, of course, is P3. Jamie Green is going to, well, interestingly, he's dropped 5/10, Jamie Green. He was 6.3. It's down to 5.8 now as Paffett lights up, obviously, now. Paul Di Resta is about to be lit up by Matthias Ekstrom.
Di Resta lost 1.5 seconds on that last lap alone. Ekstrom's just driven right up to the back of him without really having to do an awful lot more than he's done in any other lap in this race.
Well, Paul Di Resta there is defenceless, isn't he? Utterly defenceless.
And Ekstrom goes through for P7.
Yeah. The point being made is that, you know, in the second half of the race, the tyres don't seem to be working in terms of the track temperature, whereas it's really, really playing into the hands of Audi, who seem to be able to manage these much better.
It's more interesting as well that all these drivers made their pit stops within the first 20 to 25 minutes of the race. So they're actually running a much longer second stint.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Mercedes-Benz boss is Uli Fritz. Verena, brilliant work. You've got hold of Uli Fritz already.
Yes, I'm here with Uli Fritz. What happened there? You lost Wickens and Vettori within 1 lap. Was it a problem with the tires because of the heat, or what was the problem?
Yeah, to be honest, it looks like both have had a failure of the left front tire. Yeah, we need to analyze it afterwards, but at the moment it looks like it was 2 flat tires, yeah.
Thank you very much,
Very well done, Verena, and thank you for that. So confirmation there from Uli Fritz that they feel it's the tyres that have let go.
He said specifically the left front tyre.
Yeah.
So that's unusual. If you're going to have tyre problems like that, it could be any kind of pickup, but if both are the same tyres and possibly the same cause, Mercedes are really going to have to look into that.
Whoa.
Meanwhile, it's Martin Tomczyk getting a bit of a whack from Danny Juncadella.
That was meant, wasn't it? Goodness me. I'm turning in, chap.
And after only a few moments of saying that we haven't really seen much of Juncadella, he's pretty much in very much a battle there for 11th place with Tomczyk.
Well, there was I saying that Jamie Green had lost 3/10 just a couple of laps ago. He's regained them because he's now 6 seconds over
last lap.
Gary Paffett and is about to start the last lap. So what a fantastic drive this is being from Jamie Green. And I must say also, good strategy call by Audi.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're right in a sense. It has been a very good drive and a good strategy call by Audi, but it's also a bit of a strange misstep, I think, by Mercedes at the same time. To bring in Wickens at that time when they knew Green was less than a second ahead and they were going to be on the exact same pit strategy didn't really make a huge amount of sense.
The only thing I can say is they have much more information available to them than you or I.
Absolutely.
You or I is just looking at it the way we see it, and we can only call it as such. But, yeah, you would say that was a curious move, wasn't it? Because I just feel that with the pace Robert Wickens had, if he had been allowed to stay out longer.
Only thing I could think of, on the other hand, is if Mercedes believed that Wickens' pace on his own, while Green was on still relatively fresh tyres, may not have been good enough to actually make the move. Because when Green made his pit stop, he came out in the clear air because of the sizable gap between Farfus and Juncadella.
Yeah. Well, Green has opened up a gap of 7.1 seconds over the P2 driver, which is Gary Paffett in Mercedes-Benz, and then we find another Audi, of course. BMW now P4 with Marco Wittmann as Jamie Green heads towards the checkered flag to take a fantastic win. Jamie Green wins at Zandvoort.
Well done, I think. They call it awesome in English. Very well done, Jamie. Great job. So we need some pickup and a pretty slow in-lap, please. Get as much pickup as you can.
And that brings Green to second in the championship.
Let's hear from him on the team radio. Well, sadly we didn't, but it's Green. Yes, we do.
I think he's quite happy.
Yeah, we do hear from him. Right, Green, Paffett, Mortara, Wittmann, Muller, Glock, Ekstrom, De Resta, Auer, Blomqvist, the top 10. And, well, they said slow in lap, Jamie, pick up as much as you can. That's referring to picking up as much onto the tyres as you can, just to make sure that the weight is right when it comes to the weigh in. There is Dieter Gas and Wolfgang Ulrich, and be pretty happy with that. And well, Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich making his way to his various teams, and Dieter Gas again a happy man, Verena, I guess.
A very happy man. Congratulations. You seem overwhelmed. Congratulations to a fantastic race. Green really is the man of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a tough one, I have to say. He was very much under pressure in the very beginning. So basically we were forced into the strategy and stopping in the first lap, and we knew it would be tight with the tires towards the end. But Jamie managed that in an excellent way. And if we look at the complete Audi result, 1.357, couldn't have asked for more, I think.
Plus he's second in the championship now, that as well. So that's looking promising as well.
Yeah, I mean, the championship, really, we have so many things happening, and there will be so many more things happening. So yes, it's nice, but we take it for the day. But definitely, I think there will be much more to come from everybody in this championship, which is fantastic.
All right, well, thank you so much, Dieter Gas. Back to you, Lee.
Well done, Verena. Getting hold of Dieter Gas so early on, as he says. There's still lots more to come from DTM in 2016. And, well, look at the difference in facial expressions between Dieter Gas and Uli Fritz.
You get the impression he's quite happy.
Uli Fritz, less so, of course. Looked so very good for Mercedes-Benz to begin with. Right, Jamie Green then the winner. Gary Paffett P2, Eduardo Mortara then taking P3. Then we found Marco Wittmann, Nico Muller, Timo Glock, Matthias Ekstrom, Paul De Resta, Lucas Auer, Tom Blomqvist, Martin Tomczyk and Daniel Juncadella, the top 12 places. And for Mercedes-Benz, they will be feeling that it got away from them, I think. We see P13 for Farfus, then it was Spengler, Rockefeller, Wickens, look, P16. Antonio Felix da Costa, then Esteban Ocon and René Rast. And we lost Vitoris, Martin, Molina, Goetz, and Timo Scheider as Jamie Green, an entertainer.
That's to say the least, isn't it?
Hey, he put some donuts on. All the pickup he's just done has been ruined because he scrubbed it all now by doing donuts for the fans. And you know what? That should be encouraged. Well done, Jamie. Good to see that. And the fans absolutely loving it, look.
In front of the Audi.
Yeah, of course. Drivers' Championship, 105 points for Marco Wittmann. Plays 98 for Jamie Green in P2. Eduardo Mortara P3. Robert Wickens now P4. Still an awful lot of races to come. Still an awful lot can happen. But, you know, Marco Wittmann, his P4, he needed those points, didn't he, to stay at the top of the table. But Jamie Green, I think he'll be pretty pleased with that.
I think the one driver who's really going to curse this weekend is Paul Di Resta, who went in starting this weekend third in the championship, only 5 points adrift of Wittmann, and leaves it fifth in the championship, 31 points adrift.
Another man that's going to be very, very happy is Gary Paffett, who, you know, deserves a good. Hello, Jamie's turned off early. Look.
And that's he's actually Paffett's best finish this season.
Yeah, it is.
His first podium, incredibly enough, to match the fourth place he got in yesterday's race. But I think he's taken a novel approach to getting some dirt on his tyres. It's.
I think he was hoping that he was going to go and do some more entertaining before he went back to Parc Fermé. However, the marshals perhaps prevented that from happening, or was he trying to find a shortcut into the back of the paddock? I don't know. Whatever, there's no doubting the you know, very nearly 10 seconds that he had in advantage at the end of the race. And this is Jamie Green doing a great job here. Tell you what, Terry Grant, stunt driver. Jamie's a very good sub for you, friend.
I think maybe Jamie Green has a potential career as a next Evel Knievel once he puts his helmet up.
There's plenty more to come from Jamie Green's racing career yet, don't you? There he is, eventually makes his way in. It'd be very, very good to see two Brits, P1 and P2, up on the podium, of course. He is absolutely thrilled with that. And I have to say, you cannot doubt his racecraft, Lee, or his pace. I mean, it was extraordinary. Atop the car he goes. Jamie Green, race winner here in Zandvoort. So well done, Jamie Green. Well done, Gary Paffett. Well done, Eduardo Mortara. And Gary Paffett
clearly
among the first to congratulate him. Gary Paffett taking P2, of course. Jamie Green off to be weighed then.
And Paffett clearly far happier with that result than Ulrich Fritz.
Well, when you look at it, you know, Mercedes P2,
P3, P4, and then...
Yeah, we end the race with Mercedes P2, then it's P8,
P9.
then it's P9, P12. I mean, it's not what they expected, as Jamie's congratulated there by Wolfgang Ulrich.
And for it to happen so late in the race as well is would also be...
Oh, he's got him! Oh, brilliant. Great celebrations from Jamie Green, who's down with the youth, clearly. Hence where the baseball cap is. Look, and the way round it is.
But that was a very good drive by Jamie. You can't take anything away from him.
Absolutely not.
He was consistent. He nailed it when he absolutely needed to. He nailed the start when Paffett trying to go down the inside.
Gary really tried, didn't he? And in fairness, you know, you have to say, and as we see the Maximilian Gertz car that we lost earlier on in the race being low-loaded away. Gary Paffett then, P2, tried very, very hard at the start of the race. He's with Verena now.
Hey Gary, congratulations, a second place. You seem very happy about it. How was the race for you?
Yeah, great. I mean, it's more the relief. With such a good weekend, we've had really tough weekends up until now, tough season, but this weekend the car's been perfect. We've been the first two rows on the grid both days, and a podium of second place today after fourth yesterday. So yeah, fantastic. I mean, just can't say thank you enough to the team of Mercedes. The car was great all weekend.
Two of your teammates had problems with the tires. Were you getting a bit nervous, or didn't you even notice or hear about that?
I did hear. Obviously, I heard. They told me what the problem was. So I was a bit careful. I never felt anything. I never had a problem. But at the end, with Ed, it was one of the slowest ends to the race we've ever seen. I mean, we were all cruising around to make sure we didn't get a problem. So, yeah, he had big deg, maybe. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, up until that point, it was a good race. So I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Gary. Who are you taking? Gary. So I'm just going to grab really quickly Edo since you're here and no one's interrupting. So congratulations to a third place. How was the race for you?
Well, it was a long race with big dramas towards the end because we had quite some degradation on the front tires, and I was starting to have like really a lot of vibrations. So when I saw the failures on the others, I decided to cruise and bring this podium back home. I mean, we're very happy actually for Audi. It's a good day for us. After yesterday, I think it's a good day to forget about yesterday. Yeah.
All right. Well, enjoy the podium, enjoy the champagne shower, and back to you.
Thank you very much, Verena, getting squeezed out there. Okay, let's take some super slow-mos to the top three then. Eduardo Mortara, who we've just heard from, taking P3. Gary Paffett then. Delighted with his performance this weekend, and he takes P2 as the podium is here, and Gary's family joining him on the podium as well. That's good to see also. And Jamie Green on the top step. Food in the Audi hospitality is good, isn't it? National Anthem, and what a good one to hear. Jamie Green on the top step of the podium, Gary Paffett on step number 2, and Eduardo Mortara, step 3. Jürgen Blum is then Global Marketing Director, BP and Arrol, then making the trophy presentation to Jamie Green. Holds that trophy aloft. Hans-Jürgen Abt looks on. And Prince Bernhard van Orange, who's been racing in the Audi Sport TT Cup, of course, as one of the guest drivers, makes the presentation to the team. Mr. Ho Sung, then the Hankook Managing Director, making the trophy presentation to Gary Paffett. And his boys are able to hold it and hold it aloft. Well done, friend. Bert Surdbred from Dekra then making the trophy presentation to Eduardo Mortara.
So he posed now for photos before the inevitable spraying of champagne on the podium.
Yes, who's going to win the Henkel Trocken race? Exit stage left, yes. I'm off, I'm not having any of that, Dad, thank you. Well, he can't even get the cork out, look. This is fantastic.
I just think the engineer still hasn't got the cork off.
He hasn't, he's hopeless. Completely unable to do it, look at this. He's been utterly mullered. Oh, goodness me, look, and he's still, look. Oh, goodness me. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Lost, poor chap.
That's not the kind of stuff you want to get in your eyes.
Is there any left?
I don't think he's. I still don't think he's actually opened his bottle.
I think he has now, but by Jiminy, he took it wild, didn't he? But then, in fairness, he had like 2 pressure washers going at him, didn't he, poor chap? Oh, that was hilarious.
I think he's thoroughly soaked.
Absolutely hilarious. Oh, dear, oh dear. Some replays of that. What a great podium to watch. It really was. Look at him. Well, the race winner was Jamie Green. Verena, offer congratulations from us here. Really pleased for Jamie.
Yep, you can't see me right now because Jamie is still taking a sip there. Congratulations, a very well-deserved victory, and you obviously had fun up here on the podium.
Yeah, and one of our crew chief was on the podium for the first time, and decided to save his champagne for the guys. So he really took it in the face for the team. So he's a good guy. Yeah, it's always nice to share it with somebody different on the podium. So for me, winning in Zandvoort is something I've not done in DTM. So it really means a lot to me. This is a proper racetrack, and to win here is something I've been wanting to achieve for a long time.
It was a perfect race, but it was tough, wasn't it?
Yeah, this first stint was really tough. I mean, Robert almost overtook me into turn 2 at one stage, and I was thinking, this, you know, my mirrors were full of Mercedes at that stage, and I was thinking this is going to be long and tough. But yeah, after the stop, the tyres worked well and kept good until the end, whereas yesterday I struggled at the end. So I've got to thank the Rosberg engineers for really improving the car setup-wise, and then that was the key to win the race.
Now you're only 7 points behind Marco Wittmann. Are you ready finally in your career? I know it's only halftime, but are you ready to take the title home?
I think you just got to take it one day at a time, but I mean, looking at today, I think that speaks for itself.
Exactly. All right, well, enjoy the feeling. Congratulations again, and back to you.
Well, a big smile on Jamie Green's face says it all, really, doesn't it? And as he says, it is only half-time in the championship. There's a long way still to go, but it will certainly help Jamie's confidence, that's for sure, having taken a victory here in Zandvoort. As he says, it's very, very special to him. And Lee, to do it in in such a dominant style as well, because, as he said, and he readily admitted at the start of the race, what a super shot that is. It was difficult, and he did have to hold Robert off.
Do you remember last season when Jamie had a wonderful start to the year and included a double victory at Hockenheim?
Yeah. You're absolutely right, he did. He had a torrid middle sector, then a better end of the season. Well, let's see how the season will unfold for Jamie Green now. It's back to Verena on the podium.
So David Lee, thank you so much, and what a fantastic weekend we had here in Zandvoort. Very exciting indeed. And now we've got a summer break, and we're going to see you in August in Moscow. So take care, see you soon. Here are the highlights. Bye-bye.